I want to remind you of the war that Gideon went through, and let me set up the picture first. Israel is fighting the Midianites. Midianites are a great battle. There are a lot of people, and they're skilled in war. Gideon is their leader. And Gideon has right now over 30,000 people in his army, and he feels pretty confident about it. And he's anxious to get in there and to fight. He's ready to go, and so are his people. However, what his people don't show is they're scared to death. And I'll show you why in a couple minutes. Let me read from the book of Judges, the entire battle. Early in the morning, Gideon and all his men camped at the spring of Harod. Then came the Midianites north of them in the valley near the hill of Morah. The Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many men. I cannot deliver. Midianites in your hands. Israel will boast against me and say, 'My own strength has saved me.' Now announce to the army, anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead." So 22,000 men left of their own accord, and 10,000 remained. Now that's how we already know that his army is scared to death. 20,000 men have run away. They've had permission to go, and they've left. 10,000 are still there, so Midian feels okay. The Lord said to Gideon, "Too many men. Take them down to the water, and I will thin them out for you. If I say this one goes, the one goes. If I say this one stays, he stays." So Gideon took the men down to the water. There the Lord told him, "Separate those who lap the water with their tongues as a dog laps from those who kneel down to drink." 300 of them drank from cupped hands, lapping like a dog. All the rest got down on their knees to drink. The Lord said to Gideon, "With the 300 men that lapped, I will save you and give you the Midianites. Let all the others go home." So Gideon sent the rest of the Israelites home, but kept the 300 who took over the provisions and trumpets of the others. Now the camp of the Midianites lay before him in the valley. During that night, the Lord said to Gideon, "Why are you troubled? Are you going down against the camp? Because I'm going to give it to you in your hands. If you're afraid, go down to the camp with your servant Purah and listen to what they're saying. Afterward, you will be encouraged to attack the camp." So he and Purah, his servant, went down to the outposts of the camp. The Midianites, the Amalekites, and all the other eastern peoples had settled in the valley, all thick as locusts. Their camels could no more be counted than the sand in the sea. Gideon arrived just as a man was telling a friend his dream. "Gentlemen, I had a dream. A round loaf of barley bread came tumbling into the Midianite camp. It struck the tent with such force that the tent overturned and collapsed." His friend responded, "This can be nothing other than the sword of Gideon's son, Joash, the Israelite. God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into his hands." When Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he bowed down and worshiped God and said, "Thank you." He returned to the camp and called out, "Get up! The Lord has given us the Midianites into your hands." Dividing the 300 multitude into 3 companies, he placed trumpets and empty jars in the hands of them with torches inside. "Watch me. Follow my lead. When I get to the edge of the camp, do exactly as I do. When I and all who are with me blow our trumpets, then from all around the camp blow yours and shout, 'For the Lord and for Gideon.'" Gideon and 100 men with him reached the edge of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, just after they had changed the guard. They blew their trumpets and broke the jars that were in their hands. The three companies blew the trumpets and smashed into jars, grasping the torches in their left hand and holding in their right hand the trumpets they were to blow. They shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon!" While each man held his position around the camp, all the Midianites ran crying out as they fled. When the 300 trumpets sounded, the Lord caused the men throughout the camp in turn on earth, each other they turned with swords. The army fled forward to Zariah as far as the border of Abel Manoah near Tabbath. Israelites from Negev and Asher and Manasseh were called out, and they pursued the Midianites. Gideon sent messengers throughout the land, and they won the battle. All the men of Ephraim were called out, and they seized the waters of the Jordan as far as Beth-barah. They also captured two of the Midianites' leaders, Oreb and Zeb. They killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and Zeb at the winepress of Ziah. They pursued the Midianites and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Midian, which was done by 300 men, thanks to the power of the Lord. There's three things I want to point out to you in this battle. The first thing I want you to note is Gideon is scared to death. Everybody looks tough. Everybody pretends they've got everything under control. Inside, you and I know how messed up you are. You're scared, you're hurt, you're not sure what you should be doing, you're not sure you'll be doing the same thing tomorrow. You've probably done things wrong, you feel guilty and you don't know why. And you have done things wrong, like broken the 10 Commandments. You've lied, you've cheated, you've stolen. You have been wrong. But whatever it is that's messing you up inside, and believe me, I can expect when I see you something is messing you up inside. I know inside myself, I'm messed up. When you are afraid, when you are goofed up, when you don't know what you're doing, you need to know first of all, the Bible is very specific about telling you, the Lord does not make you afraid. That fear you've got is coming from yourself. The Lord does not make anyone afraid. According to the Bible, God is not the author of fear. That means that your fear, first of all, is inside yourself, and your fear then is outside yourself in whatever it is that you're messing around that is causing you to be afraid. And that's why Proverbs is so specific. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lean not unto thine own understanding, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. When you're afraid, you're directing your path. You are not trusting in the Lord. Now, two things I want to point out about Gideon. Gideon was scared to death. And then when God cut his army down, he was again scared, and he didn't understand what God was doing. But God said, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I want the glory. I don't want the Israelites walking around saying that they're tough and they won the battle. I don't want your army walking around saying that they're tough, they won the battle. I want them and you to know that I am God, I fail not, and I win the battles. Every victory that you have, every breath you take, belongs to the glory of God. Now that's hard to understand in your mind because you're so surrounded by television and by shows and by lies and by all kinds of things going on that should not be going on, and you're fooled by them. You accept them. You walk around with them, and you're confused. I am warning you and telling you right now, God needs the glory. God needs the glory for your life, for where it goes, and for what it does, and he will accept nothing else. So the first lesson I want you to learn from Gideon's war is that God insisted on the glory. And the second thing I want you to gather from Gideon's war, Gideon was scared to death that night. He could not sleep. He was wrestling and turning and tossing. He only had 300 men. Good grief, he had over 30,000 men when he was started. Now the Lord cut him down to 300, and it was a giant Amalekites and Midianites army that was about to attack him. And they were going to attack in the morning, and he couldn't sleep. And he could have been ignored. But God didn't ignore him. God, who is busy making sure the rings of Saturn turn, making sure the sun goes round, making sure that the earth is where it's supposed to be, making sure that all those planets are in proper place, who alone is very busy worrying about all of you. But he went down to Gideon and he said, "What's the matter?" And Gideon said, "What do you mean, what's the matter? You cut me down to 300 men. How can we fight the Midianites?" And God said, "Gideon, I love you. And I promise you, I will give you victory over the Midianites and over the Amalekites and over anybody else. But I want you to understand, it is my glory, not yours. You're going to die, but you will live if you give me the glory." I'm telling every one of you right now, every one of you is going to die, but you will live if you give God the glory. You will die if you keep the glory for yourself, but you will live if you give God the glory. God loves you. You need to believe it is well with your soul.